Good morning, everybody. Jack Leeson with StartupTrading.com. It is 9:20 here on the 9th NFP day. And also, we have a Supreme Court ruling today at 10 o'clock, which I can't imagine that it doesn't have a bigger impact on the markets, but I mean, I could be wrong. It's related to the tariffs, whether or not they're legal. And considering all of the movement we've seen this year around tariffs, I find it hard to believe that we wouldn't actually get anything, whether they're ruled illegal or legal. I don't really know how the market's going to expect, but it is quite an unknown how the Supreme Court's going to rule. I think it was like 74% chance they think it's going to be illegal. I just think it's going to create a lot of uncertainty and potentially a bearish scenario. And I'm going to show you guys what the levels are that if we lose, this bear flag Perry's talking about could end up really playing out to the downside. If we lose the full halfway back long from Friday of last week to Wednesday's high, yesterday it came into play 25,630. Now, opposing that, there was an extension short, and that extension short finally traded its 50 at close. But you can see all day long, there was some accumulation around that level, but really was just a choppy day. And then in the overnight session, we come back, we give it one more test at 8:30 last night, and then we have rallied here all the way back to yesterday's open. Now, if we can hold the full 50% retracement from yesterday's low to the current overnight high, that'd be a good scenario for bulls. But I do think, post 10 o'clock, if that news comes out and the market reacts really negatively to it, I do not know if it will happen. But if it does, and we start seeing selling below this 25,630, then I would think that selling continues all the way into the close. So if we hold this, I do think we'll continue higher. My upside target would be 25,885 here for the NASDAQ, and the full profit target from yesterday's 50% retracement is 26,160s. For the ES, you had the full halfway back once again from Friday's low of last week to Wednesday's high, traded the overnight. The ES had extensions too in the morning. It was the same anchor new low. We actually sold off from it at 9:30 and then got down, broke above it, and the ES flipped trend before the NASDAQ did. The NASDAQ, you could have argued that we're in a continuation of shorts, but really after 10:15-ish, the ES flipped into this halfway back long series, which held much better and much more technical to the upside, the ES was, than the NASDAQ was. We completed that target into the close, and then we sold off into the full halfway back short. We then once again completed that target. And once we completed that target, it looks like we have sold off into that next measured move here. So that next measured move from the overnight low to high is basically right where we're currently trading. I would also look at the potential that we just come full halfway back long again. That would be down at 69.62. But if we see active selling below 69.62 here today, and start taking below that prior day mid, I do think we're in a potential scenario for a higher time frame trend change, especially if the reaction to that Supreme Court decision is negative. I mean, we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars on the table with that. I don't think it's a small deal for sure. It's hundreds of billions of dollars in tax revenue either being wiped off or continuing. So, yeah. And then, of course, all of the companies affected with that in their pricing strategies around pricing around tariffs. So I do not think that is a small event, but I could be wrong. And moving on to oil, which really was a surprise for me yesterday, the way it behaved. Once we broke out, I was looking at shorts up here, and I was able to basically trail out of them for small wins. But we held an extension, and that extension just ripped to a negative 100, rallied all the way up into the close, and then overnight the extension to extension traded again, rotated up, and then during the European session we broke it, and then it seems like it came back and held here this morning and ran to target. When we broke it, we just dropped into the lower extension, arguably in a 15-minute leg start, but then just the action here, we kind of came back and held it. So I do want to just pay attention to this anchor one more time and watch that 38% retracement at 58.36. I'm really a fan of this continuation here today in CL. There's going to be another attempt in the oil market, I think, on this top side of the channel. I mean, every time it's been a little technical in the breakout. It's not like we've had anything serious, but it's fine. It's been tradable. And then for gold stuck a beautiful halfway back long for the year. Halfway back long for the year, I believe and that was Friday, the first trading day of the year last year, to the high of the year, pulled into its 50% retracement yesterday. And then from there, we inverse fair value gap, traditional. Okay, that runs to targets. We pull into that same anchor. That runs all the way to its negative 100. And then we came back, I believe, into that same low to high. It seems like it was front run here and then came back. And we're on our way to profit targets. Once those profit targets complete at 45.10s, we're going to be looking for that low of 8 o'clock to high. So the low, I mean, you could even argue, so you can even say you could look for it now, but the low of 8 p.m. last night to the most recent high is the setup I'll be looking for in GC. And so it's just a bunch of waiting, and we'll see what these indexes do off the open. I think, yesterday was really choppy. And so retesting and maybe seeing some more of that here today would not surprise me. So with that being said, I would think the only fresh untested level that we haven't traded here, 69, 62, or we're going to rally right off the open at these levels. So that's what I got. And we'll see what they do here.